Story 1. Update. You might be a hole for canceling a trip because my fiance's ex and her baby are coming. Original post. I, 32 female, have been with Kyle, male, 37, for 2.5 years. We got engaged 6 months ago. Kyle has been divorced for over 5 years. He was married to Elena, female, 37. They have a son, Grayson, 8, male. Elena has a toddler from a guy she met after her divorce and dated briefly, Ella, 2.5, female. Grayson is a wonderful little kid. He has his room in our house, and he is so loved by all of us. Cal and Elena are good friends and co-parenting is great. The problem I have is she is everywhere besides the holidays and birthdays, which I understand. Christmas, Grayson's birthday, Thanksgiving. Elena and her baby are pretty much invited to any family functions such as Kyle's birthday, Kyle's parents' anniversary. My birthday, yes, Kyle invited her to my birthday. Our camping trips, I have talked to Kyle many times, but he thinks I'm being insecure for no reason and making a big deal about nothing. I booked a trip to Mexico for January for Kyle and Grayson. Kyle told Elena that in the last week of January we will have Grayson for an extra week since he is coming with us to Mexico. Apparently Elena managed to ask him about her trip dates. Details I saw on Facebook that she was posting about swimsuit shopping for her upcoming trip. Kyle texted her and asked her if she was going somewhere that week too. She said that she researched our hotel and I took advantage of the same deal as you guys. So I guess we will see you there, haha. I told Kyle then we are canceling the trip. He said he can't because tickets are non-refundable. I told him then I'm not going. I want for once to have a family vacation without his ex-wife. I want a family vacation without his ex-wife. But Kyle thinks there's nothing we can do now. We need to address this for future plans and be more clear about boundaries. Now for the comments before reading the update. Not a hole, there's good co-parenting, and then there's this. It's nice that they're friends, that they and you are great with Grayson, but you not getting any alone time will drive you apart. And Elena is reveling in it. Elena is a single mom and probably wants to get back with Kyle. This isn't right. Your boyfriend is not looking after you properly. He needs to buck up, or this will not work for you and Kyle. Kyle basically has 2 wives at this point. Op needs to put her foot down, and he needs to grow a spine. My husband's ex would show up right after he left for work at 6 a.m. She would bring me donuts, start cleaning, and fold the kids' clothes, asking me my intentions with her ex-husband since they clearly are still united in effort. Blah blah blah. It was bizarre, but the donuts are nice. I could do without her just walking through the door though. I don't see it as her wanting to get back with him, but something is way off. She sounds like one of those co-parents who finds it really hard to miss out on their kid having an experience. For example, he can't experience Disney without me there to see it. Or Ella will be mad if Grayson goes and she doesn't. But she has to let it go and back off. One vacation together every few years is plenty enough. It's great that they have a great friendship and co-parenting relationship. But you are going to have to talk to her about some things of being just for your family. You need hard boundaries. I would tell her how you feel and let her know it's nothing personal. But you need alone time with just your family sometimes too, and Mexico was meant to be that, and you find it very disrespectful that she booked out of the blue. Now for the update. First of all, thank you all for every single comment. I read through them all. Kyle came home late last night since he was working on a project with his coworker. He saw me awake and was surprised and asked, "Is everything okay?" I said, "We need to talk." I basically told him that either he tells Elena to cancel her trip and establishes boundaries, or we are done. He said, "Oh my God, are you still on this?" I said, "I'll talk to her for future events. Let's go for F's sake." I get upset you convinced me to let it go this time, then it happens again. I reminded him that last June we hosted Elena's baby's birthday at our backyard and paid for and did everything, and you told me to let it go. Where is the limit? Will she be invited to our wedding and be in the bridal party? Will she be on her honeymoon? Will she be at the delivery room when I give birth? He said, "Well, we were both tired, why don't we talk tomorrow?" I told him I can't wait until then. Will you ask Elena to cancel her trip and tell her about my boundaries? He said, I can't make her do anything as she is no longer my wife. I can tell her that you don't like her and you can't stand her. Happy? I said, I don't feel like I'm ever going to be your wife. She is more your wife than I'll ever be. She doesn't like to be put out, so you got me for that. That's how I feel. I feel so unloved. If we break up and Elena takes you back, would you get back together with her? He said, stop. You know how much I love you. Why are you saying this nonsense? I asked again and again. He said, what do you want me to say? That if I'm single, will I work things out with Elena, I guess? I got my answer. I gave him the ring and said, I'll leave tomorrow morning. He said, what? Are you serious? What is going on tonight? He started saying how we were going to get married and had babies. He knows I left my previous boyfriend because he didn't want to get married. And he begged me not to leave before the holidays. He suggested staying and start counseling in January. I told him I really don't have energy or time for this. He started crying. I was awake all night crying on and off. In the morning he made me breakfast and hugged me so uncomfortable and said, please don't end it permanently. Let's be in touch and work on our relationship. I told him no, I just can't, sorry. Again he cried and left for work. I talked to my brother in the morning, and he and his girlfriend will let me stay with them until I find my place. I wrapped the Christmas gifts for Grace and Mostly and him and left them under the tree so they can open them on Christmas morning. He asked if I had at least joined them for Christmas morning, and I said no. As for the tickets, they are on my credit card. I'll call Air Canada today to see if I can transfer them to my brother and his girlfriend. I'm so grateful for them letting me stay at their place. Story 2. Update, am I the a-hole for letting my fiancé's friends know that they can't organize a party for his birthday because I already have plans? Original post. So my fiancé, 28 male, and I, 27 female, have been together for about 6 years. We're in the middle of planning our wedding, but that's beside the point, lol. Anyway, he's the love of my life and my best mate in the world, and I want him to be happy. So we live in a city that is close to some beautiful hills. Sometimes we go for drives in those hills. There is one little town that my fiancé loves, even though he has never actually stayed there. It is his birthday next Friday, so I decided to take him on a mini holiday to that town. I found a cute hotel and researched and organized some activities that I know he'll love. We'll stay from Friday to Monday. I've talked to his boss, and he agreed to let my fiancé take 2 days off, but won't say anything to keep it a surprise. So yesterday one of his friends messaged me and told me about a party they've been organizing for my fiancé and asked me to guide him to it without giving it away. The party was supposed to be on Friday night. I told them that it will be out of town Friday night, but I'd help them to throw it on Thursday. His friends then started blowing up my phone telling me that it's uncool to take him away on his birthday having a beer with the boys instead of doing boring couple SHT. After some back and forth, I told them to get effed and that they should have consulted with me and not the other way around. They said that they were going to tell my fiancé about both of our plans so that he can decide what he wants to do. I asked them not to as I went to great lengths to keep it a surprise, but they said that it is only fair and I should have remembered that they might want to do something and that most of them have known him for longer than I do. I feel like I shouldn't have to ask for permission to take my fiancé on a trip on his birthday. But maybe it is a faux pas now for the update. Update, some of you asked for an update, so I shall deliver. First things first, the surprise wasn't ruined. We got to go and my fiancé loved it. I followed your advice and told him that I had something planned that clashed with plans his mates made and that they are now threatening to ruin the surprise. I offered to tell him what I had planned, but he shut that down pretty quickly. He then called one of the boys and asked them what the F was wrong with them to pull this stunt, and that they should know by now that our birthday surprises are a very important part of our relationship and something we look forward to the whole year. After a rather lengthy talk with his mate, it turned out that the boys wanted one last big birthday piss-up before he got married, as they all felt that he was drifting away from them and that his priorities shifted. The fiancé then told him that it's normal for priorities to shift when you're in a long-term relationship. He made it known that he was very disappointed with the boys' behavior towards me and that they needed to apologize. Apart from that, we had a wonderful weekend. He loved it and even ordered a blanket with his favorite photos of the trip on it. My fiancé didn't go to boys' night out last week as no one had apologized to me. I guess that showed them that he was serious, and most of them called and messaged me afterwards with an apology, except for one bloke. Everyone apart from him will be coming to ours for a barbecue next week, and we're hoping to be able to move past this rather unpleasant experience. That's all, guys. Take care. Story 3. Update: possibly going to get fired for appearance and grooming due to a stain on my skin. Original post: literally don't know where else to go, but I work the night shift at a hotel. When I first got hired, I had multiple facial piercings in a funky way of dressing and doing my hair. They originally wanted me to be clean cut, but after some back and forth, they've let me keep my piercings in so long as I dress business casual fare. So I wear plain button-ups and pencil skirts with tights, no biggie. At one point I had dyed my hair black, and the dye I used changed their formula, so it stained my skin like crazy. I soaked my hands in hot water for almost 20 minutes, tried dish soap, tried rubbing alcohol, still stained. Anyway, I go into work, and a girl that had recently been promoted to manager 1 month ago saw and was like, "Oh, can you get that off your skin?" And I said no and demonstrated using hand sanitizer to show that it was deeply stained. We kind of laughed it off, and she was like, "Okay. Well, next time don't do that before the work fair." That was about 2 weeks ago. And today in my email, I see I'm being called in for a performance review meeting, and attached is a final warning, meaning my any further action is termination due to violating dress code. The only infraction that's listed under examples of violation: hair dye stains on hands and arms. The email discussed how they're going to proceed further with my employment. I am literally gagged. I can't believe this. This is the only time I've ever gotten a warning here, verbal or written. I almost feel like crying. A final wording over accidental dye stains that I can't remove, plus I work the night shift. No one barely sees me. I'm at a loss over what to do. I looked over the handbook, and it does say that we have to be well groomed, but I've never been called out, barely ever late, always do the work before it's due, and I get great reviews from guests. I'm actually heartbroken. I work a position that no one wants to work. Has something like this happened to anyone else? What should I do? Now for the comments before reading the update. It's likely something that they are not really allowed to discipline or disapprove of. I would avoid taking this tack. I would stick to this was an injury, not a fashion choice. Treat the staining of your skin for what it is, an injury. You did not intend to stain your skin. An accident caused something to happen to your body that you did not wish for, and now there is an unwelcome visual indicator of that accident. Just because it doesn't hurt does not mean that it's not an injury. If they press, ask if you can have sick leave until it clears up, because they're suggesting that you can't do your job with this condition. But emphasize that this is no more your choice than a car accident or a fall down the stairs. That's another thing that crosses my mind. I'm debating asking them in the meeting if they really have an issue with something else regarding my work. If one-party consent recording is legal in your state, you may find it helpful to know that Office Depot and many other stores sell excellent little voice recorders for $50 to $150 that fit very discreetly in a pocket or purse. I would highly recommend them. I strongly suspect the new manager has it out for you and is just finding an excuse to build a paper trail to fire you. Start looking for another job now. It's always easier while you have one. Sorry you're having to deal with this, and good luck finding a better working environment. Now for the update. Thank you for everyone for the feedback. I did do some research, and with labor laws taken into account, this is not a violation of labor laws, although it does appear that my employers are taking advantage of vagueness around employee rights laws. I won't be pursuing this legally, however. This is something that I'm still considering bringing to the labor board, along with other things discussed in the meetings I won't be disclosing here. And to address one final thing, I am not Pentecostal. Me not owning or wearing pants isn't for religious reasons, and my work knew this before creating this rule. It looks like everyone that said that this was a new manager making an attempt to throw weight around as well and use me as an example is correct. I'm not quitting my job. I'm going to search for a new one until they fire me, since it seems like eventually they're going to head into this direction. Oh well. So a few hours ago I got out of the meeting. I did read as many of the comments as possible and listen to everyone's opinions. I promised an update, so I get to the meeting, and despite all the listed issues only regarding hair dye stains, sure enough it was a laundry list of problems they had for me. The meeting consisted of 2 mid-level managers, 1 recently promoted. I was basically not able to plead my case at all in this meeting, and I was talked over if I tried. They called it a performance review, and when I asked for further clarification on whether or not this was a disciplinary meeting, it went unanswered. In the meeting, they told me that the hair dye stains, despite being accidental and lasting only 1 day, had caused them to review the dress code and what they deemed appropriate. Because, as you guys pointed out, the dress code was extremely vague. No hair dye stains were added to the list. However, they made a few other changes that were fully admitted were done solely because of me. The big change that they made to the dress code is no skirts at all, not knee length, ankle length, none. I am currently the only employee that chooses to wear skirts, and upon me being hired, I double-checked that that would be okay. I've never received a verbal warning or write-up for my skirts. I asked if it was because of the length, as I usually go for just above the knee. However, it's not outlined in the dress code, and they did not specify and went forth in banning skirts, despite me being the only person that wears them. I don't own pants and informed them of this. They essentially said get some and told me that they'd be providing me with a future uniform credit. They didn't even give me a write-up or make me sign anything, but they did attempt to make me sign the new uniform agreement, which I did not do because I don't own pants and I don't want to sign an agreement saying I have to wear them. This just seems ridiculous to me, especially since when I was called in for the meeting I was supposed to be getting a final warning write-up that I was never given. I also want to note that in this meeting they told me I would no longer be allowed to eat at the front desk. However, on my shift, I am not permitted to clock out to take a 30-minute break, nor do I have anyone to cover me at the desk to step away to eat. They kind of said it last minute, so I wasn't able to process it all. In all, I'm confused what they called me in for doesn't track what the meeting ended up being focused on, and while not being fired is awesome, the way I was treated during this meeting made me feel horrible and like I did something wrong. I even asked about my performance work-wise during the meeting, and they had no complaints. What's going to happen to me if I don't wear pants? Is it legal for them to force me to wear pants and not eat for 8 hours? Help y'all. Story 4. My boyfriend thought I cheated when I didn't. Is the relationship over? Boyfriend 27, I 24 female, have been together for 5 months. 2 nights ago, we were cuddling on my couch after he opened presents I got him. It was a very nice evening. We were both watching TV on my PlayStation, and for a moment it glitched and took me back to the profile sign in that appears on the startup. For background, my ex of 3 years who I stopped dating a year ago had made me a profile on my PS4 in our first year of dating. When my current boyfriend and I started dating, he expressed dislike of it still being there, and without thinking twice I deleted it. It reappeared. I don't know why or how, but he found it suspicious. On the one hand, I understand his thinking, but I didn't appreciate the way he went about bringing it up over the text after he left my place and things got cold between us. He couldn't take my sincerity. I don't know for an answer of truth and insisted he needed an explanation. Nothing I try to find online supports my reality, but this is weird and I don't know how it could have gotten there, and so he finds it even more suspicious. We had a talk about an hour ago where he asked me to tell him the truth, and I did, again asserting, I really wish I had an explanation but don't. And the 2 avenues of finding an answer are that he called PlayStation and found out for himself that it isn't available online, or that I text my ex and ask him about recent activity on his PS account that might have affected mine somehow. I'm not sure if my boyfriend truly did anything wrong, but I can't help but feel stuck. I'm not even sure if I want to move forward in the relationship. I feel like if this was enough for him not trust me at my word, we're screwed down the line when and if bigger issues come up. Now for some comments. Maybe I need more information, Nut, but if you are upset with the way he brought it up later, isn't that better than keeping it in and resenting you without knowing? He went until I was in bed before texting me. He thought it was pretty weird, which we both said at the moment when he saw it earlier in the evening, but we didn't have a full-on talk about it then. I had a moment, but what the F? Why is that there? Weird. Before getting the PS4 and glitched so we could continue cuddling and watching the show we were watching. When he brought it up again over text, he would say things like, "That's pretty weird that you don't know how it got there, and that it's even weirder," before eventually ignoring my message. Have a sit-down talk with him reiterating everything you've said. Maybe even show him the Reddit. I don't blame him for being a little weirded out by it, but now it's up to you to ease this with your words. If that doesn't work, then there's not much else you can do as you've done everything. Thank you. We're going to talk again tonight with clearer heads and see about contacting Sony when their phone hours are open, and I may contact my ex about anything he might want to know. I appreciate your input.